Hello students, we are continuing with the chapter Surface Chemistry and today we are going to discuss about the colloids. Colloid is a type of mixture. We have studied in the chapter Solution that there exists true solution and suspension. What is a true solution? It is a homogeneous mixture where solute and solvent mix completely. Whereas suspension, it's a completely heterogeneous mixture. And in suspension, the solute settles down in the solvent after some time. So, colloid is a intermediate between two extreme conditions, true solution and suspension. We can define colloid as homogeneous looking heterogeneous substance. It looks homogeneous like true solution, but it is heterogeneous in nature like suspension. The reason lies behind the fact of the particle size. In true solution, the particles are very small. In suspension, the particles are quite large and therefore they settle down. Whereas in case of colloid, the particles that of solute, they are small. How much small? So that they can remain suspended. But they are large enough also. So neither they are too small nor they are too large, and therefore the particle size of colloid gives them the typical nature homogeneous looking heterogeneous substance. If we typically speak about the particle size of true solution is less than 1 nanometer. The particle size of suspension, here we are talking about the particle size of solute, is greater than 1000 nanometer. So the particle size is large enough. Whereas in case of colloids, the particle size is in the range of 1 to 1000 nanometer. And therefore, this is a typical nature of colloid, and colloid becomes an interesting class of compound. Now based on this, there was a question in your JEE exam. As we have solute and solvent in true solution, similarly in colloids also we have solute and solvent. The solute is called as dispersion phase, whereas solvent will be called as dispersing medium. It is same to that of solute and solvent. So I can say dispersion phase is that part or that component of the colloid which is present in small amount. Whereas dispersing medium is that part of the colloid or that component of the colloid which is present in large quantity. So with this basic information of colloids, today we will be studying the classification of colloids. The colloids can be classified in three ways. The first one, physical state of dispersed phase and dispersion medium. Second is the nature of interaction between dispersion phase and dispersion medium. Now we will use the term dP for dispersed phase and dM for dispersion medium. Thirdly, type of particles of dispersed phase. So let us begin with the first one. Physical state of dispersed phase and dispersion medium. Now dispersed phase can be either solid, liquid or gas. Similarly, dispersion medium can be either solid, liquid or gas. Remember one thing, dispersion phase and dispersion medium both gas, this combination is not possible, because when dispersion phase and dispersion medium both are gas, it leads to formation of true solution. Mixture of gases is a true solution and it is not a colloid, and therefore the combination of dispersion phase and dispersion medium both as a gas, it is not possible. Important note. So let us see this classification in detail. So this is a classification of colloids based on physical state. Dispersed phase, that is a solid, can be either solid, liquid and gas, and then dispersion medium can be either solid, liquid and gas. So we have three different categories. Now this table must be learnt by you people. Any questions can be asked from this table in your board exam also, as well as in your JEE exam. For example, if the dispersed phase is solid and the dispersion medium is also solid, then we call it as a solid sol. For example, some colored glasses, some gemstones. In paints, the dispersion medium is liquid and the dispersed phase is solid. In milk, it's a emulsion type of colloid. We have different categories of colloid like solid sol, aerosol, gel, emulsion. So this you have to learn by heart. Any question can be asked. So coming back to the question of milk, what is dispersed phase and dispersion medium in milk? So the answer will be liquid and liquid. Remember, in case of gas, dispersed phase and dispersion medium both gas, this combination is not possible because it will give a true solution. Now in case dispersion medium is water, then we have different labeling. If the dispersion medium is alcohol, then also we have a different name, and if the dispersion medium is air, then we call it in a different way. So what are their names? When the dispersing medium is water, then we call it as aquasol, or it is also called as hydrosol. Now if DM is alcohol, then we call it as alkosol, and if DM is air, then we call it as aerosol. Now based on this, you can have question for 1 mark, that identify the dispersed medium in air. So the answer will be aerosol. The next classification is based on the nature of interaction between DP and DM. That means what type of interaction, strong or weak, is present between solute and solvent. Accordingly, we have two types, lyophilic and lyophobic. From the name itself, we can predict what are their meanings. Lyophilic. Philic means loving. So these are liquid. Since here we are discussing about the solvent, I will say they are solvent loving. So there is a good interaction between DP and DA, or I will say solute and solvent. Lyophobic. Phobic means having fear, running away. So it is solvent hating. We will discuss in detail the characteristics of both these lyophilic as well as lyophobic colloids. Let us begin with the first one, lyophilic. So the very first characteristic, there is a good interaction between solute and solvent, or I will say DP and DM, and therefore they are solvent loving. Second, since there is a good interaction between DP and DM, therefore they are easy to prepare, or I will say they have good solvation characteristic. Moving on to the next point. Suppose DP and DM, they are separated. Then we can regain the colloid. We can regain the sol. Sol and colloid, for you people level, you can use the terms interchangeably. So if DP and DM, they are separated, we can regain the sol by adding again the sufficient amount of DM, and therefore these are also called as reversible sole. This point is important, that why lyophilic sole are called as a reversible sole, because they can be reconstructed again. Now since they have good interaction between DP and DM, or I will say they have good solvation property, they are stable one. Next is they can't be easily precipitated, or I will say they can't be easily coagulated, because again the strong interaction or good solvation property. Next is particles of colloid, they are heavily hydrated. Now why they are heavily hydrated? Because they have good attraction for solvation. The next is particles do not carry any charge, and this is one more reason why the lyophilic soles are stable. Since they do not carry any charge, they are stable. Now let us study its examples like gum, gelatin, starch, rubber. So these are the examples of lyophilic sole. Lyophobic sole will show totally different properties, or I will say exactly opposite properties to that of lyophilic. So the first one, solvent hating. These were solvent loving. Second, since the interaction between DP and DM is not good, therefore they can't be prepared easily. Special methods are required to mix DP and DM. What happens in case of lyophilic sole? Simply we mix DP and DM in a required quantity, we get a sole. But in case of lyophobic, it is not the case. We require special methods. Thirdly, these are irreversible sole. Now why they are called as irreversible sole? Because they can't be reconstructed. By adding sufficient quality of DM again. So therefore it is called as irreversible sole. They are not stable, and therefore we need stabilizing agents for their preservation. Okay. Now fifth point, lyophilic sole can't be easily coagulated, but these can be easily coagulated. Now how they can be coagulated? By adding electrolyte, or by heating, or by shaking. Now these all points will be discussing in detail in the upcoming videos in the same chapter. Next is the particles of lyophobic sole, they carry charge, and therefore when placed in a field, they move to either cathode or anode depending on charge present on them. 7. In case of lyophilic, we have seen that they are heavily hydrated, but in case of lyophobic sole, the particles, they are not appreciably hydrated. Reason? Poor solvation property, poor interaction between DP and DM. And the last is example, metal sulfides like arsenic sulfide, metal hydroxides like aluminum hydroxide. These form lyophobic soil. So this gives you a complete difference between lyophilic and lyophobic soil. Based on lyophilic and lyophobic soil, many questions are asked. So I will rate this topic as an important one. Based on a particular point, difference can be asked, or with respect to lyophilic special question, or with respect to lyophobic special question can be asked. So you must learn this topic. So we come to the last classification. It is based on type of the particle size. Based on that, we have multimolecular colloid, macromolecular colloid, and associated colloid. So we'll study all these one by one. The first one, multimolecular colloid. What happens in multimolecular colloid? Many small molecules will aggregate together and they will form a particle which is in the range of colloid particle. For example, if I discuss about sulfur sol, so what does sulfur sol consist of? It consists of thousands of, or I will say even more, S8 molecule. So when number of S8 molecules come together, they will form S-sol. Individually, if we talk about S8, it will be small in size. But when they come in together in large number, they will form a sol. Now, in multimolecular colloids, the force of holding particles is van der Waals force, which is a weak force. Now let us come to macromolecular colloid. So what happens in case of macromolecules? The size of the particles is large sufficient, and when they are put in a suitable solvent, they form a solution where they achieve the range of colloidal range. Otherwise, without that solvent, they may not show colloidal nature. Now these macromolecules resemble true solution in many ways. All naturally occurring compounds like enzymes, proteins, they are macromolecules, as well as polymers. They are the examples of macromolecules. Now when we discuss about associated colloid, they again show a completely different behavior. At low concentration, they will behave as like a normal electrolyte, but if the concentration increases, then they will behave like colloid. Now these associated colloids we have to study in detail. So associated colloids, these are the substances which at low concentration will behave like a normal electrolyte, but at higher concentration they will act as a colloid. Why? Because at higher concentration many particles will aggregate together, will come together, and that aggregation, that gathering together will give them the nature of colloid. Now these aggregated particles, they are called as micelle, about which you have studied in your class 10th also. So what are micelle? The aggregated particles, but at a particular concentration, we call it as a critical micelle concentration, and at a particular temperature we call it as a Kraft temperature. Remember, micelle will be formed only when the temperature is Kraft temperature and the concentration is above critical micelle concentration, CMC. Generally, all the surface active agent like soaps, synthetic detergent, they work by using the principle of micelle formation. So we are going to study how the soap work by using the concept of micelle formation. To study the mechanism of micelle formation, we will first understand the chemical nature of soap. What is a soap? Soap is either sodium or potassium salt of long chain higher fatty acids. Which fatty acid? Like stearic acid, palmic acid, oleic acid, etc. The most common is sodium stearate. Now, sodium stearate is a major component of soap bars. Sodium stearate, its formula is C17H35COONA. This chemical nature of the soap gives it interesting characteristic to make micelle. Now, as you can see in this, we have two parts. One is the large alkyl part and another is polar part. So this alkyl part, which is large in number, it is hydrophobic in nature. Because we know the alkyl groups are hydrophobic, and the polar part, it is called as, or it is hydrophilic. Being polar in nature, it will have attraction towards water, and since this is an alkyl group, obviously it will be non-polar. Now, every time it will be difficult to form 17 carbon atoms in a chain, and therefore we can represent this structure by using bond line formula. You need not to draw this 17, a schematic will be sufficient one. Now this structure represents a soap molecule, and we can divide it in two parts as we have discussed right now. Inside will be COO minus and outer will be Na plus. So this part is non-polar, and it will be hydrophobic. It is also called as a tail of the soap molecule. Whereas COO minus Na plus part, this is a polar part. Since it has charges, it will be hydrophilic in nature. And it is also called as the head of the soap molecule. Now, how does this soap molecule behaves in water? That we are going to discuss. Before moving on to that topic, soap can be also represented as RCOO minus Na plus, or even RCOO minus K plus, sodium or potassium salt. Now, this soap molecule with its hydrophobic and hydrophilic ends show different properties at low concentration and at high concentration. At low concentration, what happens? At low concentration, when you put this soap in water, they turn themselves upside down. The polar part is towards the water. This is at low concentration. But what happens at high concentration? At high concentration, these particles come together, or I will say above critical micelle concentration, these particles form a sphere, and that sphere is called as micelle. It is in spherical shape, with all hydrophobic ends pointing towards the center and all hydrophilic points pointing outside the circle. This spherical form is what we will call as micelle. So all the polar part will be outside. Now this tail part, it is hydrocarbon, it is alkyl in nature, and therefore it is responsible for cleaning of the cloths. This whole micelle is responsible for cleaning of the cloths. Now we have to remember, whatever dirt is present on the cloths, it is generally present in the form of oil. which is hydrocarbon. And we know like dissolves like. The hydrocarbon part will be attracted towards the hydrocarbon, as well as this tail is hydrophobic in nature, therefore it would like to move away from water molecule. So how does it help in cleaning? Let us consider there is one oil drop on the cloth. Now when we are washing it with soap, what happens? The soap molecule, we have already given it a critical micelle concentration above its concentration. So micelle formation will take place. The head part being polar move towards water, but the head part which is hydrophobic moves towards this dirt, because that is also hydrocarbon in nature. And the micelle will surround that oil droplet. Micelle will be formed with its tail part penetrated inside this oil droplet, and the polar part pointing towards outside. And this structure helps in breaking the oil droplet. How? Now as you can see on the outer part, these all are similar charges. These similar charges repel each other, and therefore what happens? They carry out emulsification of oil droplet. That means they break down this bigger oil droplet into smaller oil droplets. As a result, this oil droplets breaks into many small number of particles, plus this outer part being polar, being hydrophilic, it has attraction towards water and therefore easily gets washed away with water, and the cloth gets cleaned. So this is how the micelle helps in cleaning the oil droplets from the cloth. But one main disadvantage with soap is that being the large number of alkyl group, soaps are non-biodegradable and therefore they cause lot of harm to the environment, and therefore instead of soap, detergents are used. So what are detergents? These are alkyl benzene sulfonic acid. I can say that these are ammonium or sulfonated salts of long chain fatty acid, or I can even say that these are chloride salts of alkyl benzene sulfonic acid. For example, sodium lauryl sulfate. This is one of the detergents with the formula C12H27SO4 minus Na+. Now in this case, this will be polar part, and this SO4 minus Na+, this part will be responsible for cleaning. This question was also asked in JEE, that name the part of the detergent which is responsible for cleaning. Now being the sulfonic salt or being the ammonium salt, detergents become biodegradable and therefore detergents are preferred over soap. The cleaning mechanism of detergent is same like that of soap, that is detergents also clean with the mechanism of micelle. Only thing is that instead of CO minus, here it will be SO4 minus. So in today's module we have discussed the the introduction of colloids, and we have discussed the classification of colloids. Lots and lots of theory questions can be asked from this topic. Here are some homework questions for you people which are based on today's module. If you go through the video carefully, you will be able to solve all these questions. That's all for the day. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.